The desert planet was dry and dead. Red rocks stretched as far as the eye could see. The wind blew dust across the surface, making the air feel sharp and bitter. Tomal stood on top of a small dune, looking at the smoking wreck of his ship behind him. He was not supposed to be here. His ship had been hit by pirates near the edge of Imperial space. The engines failed, and the ship crash-landed on this forgotten world. The maps called it Eros 9, marked as a dead planet with no life, no cities, no use. But now, with his ship damaged and the signal too weak to call for help, Tomal had no choice but to search for anything that could keep him alive. He checked the sun's position. It would set in a few hours. He had to move fast. His oxygen mask clicked as he walked forward, the dry sand crunching under his boots. About 2 kilometers ahead, he noticed something strange. A square shape stood against the curved rocks. It looked like a building, low and made of black metal, half buried in the sand. There were no lights, no doors, but it didn't belong to the natural world. This was not a pirate outpost. It looked like Imperial tech. Tomal crouched near a small ridge and scanned the area with his old binoculars. He saw small machines floating near the building, security drones. That confirmed it Imperial property. But if it was active, it might have power, tools, or even a way to contact someone. He made a choice. He would sneak in. Tomal waited until the closest drone turned away, then slid down the hill. Keeping low, the outer wall had a vent opening at the base. It looked just wide enough. He pulled out a tool from his belt and opened it carefully. Inside, the air was cooler. The walls were smooth, gray, and quiet. He moved through the halls, each step soft, careful. Lights on the ceiling flickered, casting long shadows. It didn't feel like a research base. It felt like a prison. Soon, he reached a wide chamber. At the center stood a glowing tube, and inside it, a girl. She was floating, chained by metal cuffs around her wrists and ankles. Her skin was soft blue, glowing slightly under the chamber lights. Her eyes were closed. She didn't move. Tomal stepped closer, breath caught in his throat. He had never seen a being like this before. Her face looked young, not human, but still beautiful in a quiet, sad way. Her head had soft lines running from her temples down to her neck. Her arms were thin but strong. She wore no armor, no gear, only a simple, torn cloth. He looked at the screen beside the chamber. The words were an Imperial code. He read them slowly. Species. Found subject. Mirror status. Contained orders. Do not release C. Step back. Fallon. That word sounded familiar. Long ago, his father had told him stories of a race called the Fallon. They could move objects with their mind, control energy with their thoughts. The Empire had hunted them down, called them a danger, said they were all gone. But here she was, alive, and in chains. Tomal stared at her. He knew he should leave. This was none of his business. But something about the look on her face, even in sleep, stopped him. There was pain in it, suffering. She was not a weapon. She was a prisoner. He moved to the control panel. The unlock command blinked red. He took a deep breath. Then he pressed it. The machine made a loud sound. The glow faded. The chains unlocked. Slowly, the chamber opened. The girl's body dropped forward. Tomal rushed to catch her. She was light, almost weightless. Her eyes opened slowly. They were silver, calm but weak. She looked at him without fear. "You're safe," Tomal whispered. "I'm not here to hurt you." She blinked once. No words came, but her fingers closed around his shirt gently. Her body trembled from weakness. A loud alarm echoed through the hallway. Tomal froze. Red lights flashed along the ceiling. The drones had been alerted. "Time to move," he said. He lifted her in his arms and ran back the way he came. The vent was too small now. He searched for another way out. Ahead, a metal door slid open. Beyond it was the outer yard, full of broken machines, and rocks. Drones flew overhead, searching. He ducked behind a crate and checked her again. She had fallen asleep, her breathing slow but steady. "I hope you're worth it," he whispered. He ran low and fast, staying in the shadows. One drone spotted him and fired a warning shot. He jumped behind a wall and waited. Then he threw a metal scrap far to the right. The drone turned and chased the noise. That gave him enough time. He reached the edge of the base and climbed up the hill. From there, he saw his ship. It was still broken, but maybe just enough to fly. He ran down the slope and placed her gently inside the co-pilot seat. Then he got to work. His fingers flew over the buttons. The engine groaned but started. The ship lifted off the ground just as more drones arrived. They fired lasers. One hit the side of the ship, shaking it hard. Tomo pulled the controls and forced the ship into the sky. He didn't know where to go, but he knew one thing. The Empire would come for him now, because he had freed someone they wanted to keep hidden, and she was no ordinary girl. Tomo held the flight controls tightly. His ship shook from the damage. Smoke rose from one of the back engines. The air inside the cabin was thick with heat, but they were flying. That was all that mattered for now. The alien girl sat beside him, quiet and still. She had not spoken a word since they left the planet. Her silver eyes looked at the stars through the cracked glass. Her arms were wrapped around herself like she was trying to hold her body together. Tomo glanced at her. "Can you hear me?" She turned her head slowly and nodded once. "I'm Tomo. I'm a pilot, a trader. I didn't know that place was a prison. I just wanted to fix my ship." She looked down at her hands but said nothing. "You're Mira, right?" he asked. Her eyes met his again. There was a long pause. Then she spoke, her voice soft. "Yes, Mira." Her voice was calm, but her words came slowly, like she had not spoken for a long time. Tomo sighed and looked back at the dashboard. A red light was flashing. Fuel was low. The nearest safe system was still 2 jumps away. He would need to stop at a hidden station or risk drifting in deep space. "I know a place. Not big, not clean, but they don't ask questions," he said. Mira gave no reply, but he felt her eyes stay on him for a while. He set the course and activated the jump drive. The stars stretched into long white lines. The ship entered the slipstream. For a moment, everything was still. Tomo leaned back and looked at her again. "Why was the Empire keeping you in chains?" Mira closed her eyes. Her breathing became slower. She didn't answer. He didn't press her. A few minutes later, she opened her hand and looked at her palm. A small piece of metal that had been stuck in her skin floated into the air. It hovered for a second, then fell into her other hand. Tomo stared at her in silence. "That's not normal," he said. "I know," she replied. "Are you one of them?" he asked. "Thalen?" She nodded. "But you're the only one I've ever seen. The Empire says your kind is gone." "They are not gone," she said. "They are hidden." Tomo felt a chill run through him. He had just rescued someone. The Empire was hunting for a reason. She was not a simple prisoner. She was something bigger. "I didn't mean to get involved in anything serious," he said, "but I couldn't leave you there." Mira looked at him. Her face was soft now, not afraid. "Thank you," she said. The ship dropped out of the slipstream. Before them was a wide asteroid field. In the middle floated a small, hidden station built into a large rock. Lights blinked weakly across its surface. The place was called Drift Hollow. Tomo had been here before. It was run by smugglers and scavengers, but it was better than nothing. He contacted the station. "This is Trader Ship T-19 requesting dock. Emergency repairs needed. No cargo. 2 souls on board." A gruff voice answered. "Docking Bay 3 is clear. You have 30 minutes. No trouble." Tomo landed the ship slowly. Sparks flew from one of the rear engines as they touched down. He turned off the power and helped Mira out of her seat. "Stay close," he said. "This place is not friendly." They stepped into the bay. Workers and droids stared at them. Some pointed at the damaged ship. Others looked at Mira with confused eyes. One man whispered something, and another nodded. Tomo didn't like the attention. They walked through the metal halls to a small repair shop. An old man with a metal arm sat behind the counter. "Tomo," he said with a smirk. "Didn't expect you back here. What's the damage?" "Rear engine. Cooling system. Maybe the nav core." Tomo replied. The man raised an eyebrow. "What happened?" "Looks like someone shot at you." Tomo kept his voice calm. "Pirates?" The man laughed. Sure. Pirates. Mira stood behind Tomel, silent. The man looked at her again. Who's your friend? Just a passenger, Tomel said. Quickly. The man leaned forward. Passenger or problem? Tomel placed a credit stick on the table. Just fix the ship. I'll come back in 2 hours. The man nodded. I'll see what I can do. Tomel led Mira out into the station's dark hallway. They found a quiet corner near an old storage room. He sat on a broken crate, and she sat on the floor beside him. You're not safe here, he said. They saw you? They're going to start asking questions. Mira touched her head gently. I can make them forget. If they look too close. Tomel looked at her, unsure. What do you mean? She held up her hand. A small spark danced between her fingers. I don't want to hurt anyone, she said. But if I must protect myself, I will. Tomel shook his head. This is getting too big. The Empire's going to know you're gone by now. They'll track my ship. They already are, Mira said. He stood and began to pace. I should have left you. I should have walked away. But you didn't, she replied. He stopped. No, he said. I didn't. Just then, a sound came from down the hall. A voice whispered something. Footsteps followed. Tomel peeked around the corner and saw 2 men walking toward the shop. One had a scanner in his hand. They're looking for us, he said. We need to leave. Mira whispered. We don't have a ship yet. Mira stood, her silver eyes glowing slightly. Then we make them believe we are not here. She raised her hand. A wave of silence spread through the air. The voices in the hall faded. The scanner beeped once, then turned off. The men stopped. They looked confused. One rubbed his eyes. The other turned around and walked back the way he came. Tomel stared at Mira. What did you just do? I made them forget, she said. He nodded slowly. I believe you now. You're not just an alien girl. I never was, she said. Outside, the stars kept moving. The Empire was already searching. But Tomel had made his choice, and he was not going to run alone. The repairs on Tomel's ship were done by the next day. The engines worked again, though not perfectly. The fuel lines were patched, the systems cleaned, and the jump drive ready. But Tomel was no longer safe. When he entered the station's market to buy supplies, he noticed something strange. People were watching him. A group of miners stopped talking when he walked past. One trader quickly turned off the screen. Tomel's steps became slower. He felt a heavy air of silence around him. He turned a corner and saw a large holo screen blinking red. His own face was on it. Below it was a message in bright letters. Wanted. Tomel ran for stealing Imperial property. Last seen fleeing Eros 9 reward. 50,000 credits Empire authorization. Level red next to his image was another face. Mira's. Tomel. Stepped back, heart pounding. A bounty. A big one. The Empire had already labeled Mira as their property. Anyone who helped her was now a criminal. He returned to the ship fast. As he reached the bay, he saw 2 men standing near the landing ramp. One held a blaster. The other was talking to Mira, who stood calmly outside. Tomel rushed forward. Is there a problem? The man with the blaster smiled. No problem. We were just admiring your ship. Nice model. Old, but fast. Tomel nodded slowly. She's mine. Can I help you with something? We heard there's a reward for a man who matches your face, the second man said. And for the girl too. Mira's eyes stayed on them, quiet and still. Tomel stepped in front of her. You're mistaken. Maybe, or maybe not. The man said, but 50,000 credits is a lot. Makes people look real close. Mira raised her hand slightly. You should leave. The men looked at each other, confused for a moment. Then they turned and walked away without another word. Tomel waited until they were gone, then looked at her. You used your power again. She nodded. I only pushed their thoughts. They will forget the last 5 minutes. This bounty is going to follow us everywhere, Tomel said. They made us targets. Mira looked up at the stars through the station dome. They will not stop. Not until they find me. Tomel went into the ship and turned on the nav system. Then we go where they can't reach. Mira sat beside him. Where's that? He paused. There's a place, far from Empire space, a mining colony called Grey Rock. My old friend lives there. He might help. Can you trust him? She asked. I hope so. Tomal launched the ship. As they left Drift Hollow, 3 small ships followed them from a distance. Tomal noticed them on the scanner. We have company. Are they bounty hunters? Mira asked. Yes, and they're faster. Tomal pulled the ship into a sharp turn and sped toward an asteroid belt. The rocks floated in all directions, spinning and colliding. He weaved between them as fast as the ship would allow. Lasers flew past the window. One hunter ship hit a rock and exploded. The other two kept coming. Mira placed her hands on the ship's side. A strange energy flowed through the panels. The ship moved faster, smoother. It felt like something was guiding it. What are you doing? Tomal asked. I'm helping, she replied. The ship shot through the last line of asteroids and entered open space. The hunters fell behind, unable to match their speed. Tomal activated the jump drive, and the ship vanished into the SLIPSTREAM dot inside. The lights dimmed. Tomal leaned back, breathing hard. You saved us. Mira nodded. Her hands were shaking. Slightly. It takes a lot of strength. I can't do that often. I won't ask again unless we need it. Tomal said. She closed her eyes. I want to tell you something about why they kept me. Tomal stayed silent, listening. My people, the Thalan, are not gone. The Empire wanted us gone because we see things they fear. We don't need machines to control power. We don't need wires or fuel to fly. That makes us dangerous in their eyes. So they locked you away. Tomal said. They used machines to block my thoughts. They wanted to study me. But I escaped once before. They found me again. That's how I ended up in chains. Tomal clenched his jaw. They won't get you back. Not while I'm breathing. Mira opened her eyes. Why do you help me? You didn't know me. You didn't have to choose this. Tomal looked out at the stars. When I saw you in that chamber, I saw someone who had done nothing wrong. And I've been alone too long. Maybe I needed someone to believe in again. The ship exited the slipstream near a cold, quiet star system. A dusty moon circled a dark planet. In the distance, Grey Rock Colony came into view. It looked like a metal scar across the rocky surface. Tomal activated the signal. This is Tomal Wren, requesting landing at Grey Rock. Need clearance. A voice answered after a moment. Tomal, that really you? Yeah, I need help. You always do. The voice replied. Dock at Bay 4. Tomal landed the ship. The platform was old but solid. As the doors opened, Mira followed him out. They walked into the colony's main hall. People stared, curious but not hostile. A tall man with a short beard stepped forward. His clothes were worn, his eyes sharp. Tomal, it's been years, he said. Good to see you, Darren. Tomal replied. This is Mira. We need a place to rest, quiet. Darren looked at Mira, then back at Tomal. You're in trouble. More than usual. Tomal said. Darren nodded. Come with me. They followed him into a side building, away from the main crowd. Inside, Darren closed the door and looked at them both. You've got Empire trouble, don't you? Tomal sighed. Worse, they put a bounty on my head because I freed her. Darren sat down slowly. You really know how to find danger. I didn't find it. It found me. Darren looked at Mira again. What is she? Tomal answered calmly. She's the reason the Empire is afraid, and maybe the reason we still have hope. The Grey Rock Colony was not a city. It was a patchwork of old buildings, mining towers, and dusty machines. Most of the people who lived there were workers, smugglers, or outlaws. But it was far from the eyes of the Empire. That made it the right place to hide. Tomal and Mira followed Darren through the narrow paths between buildings. Pipes ran across the walls. Wires hung low from rusted roofs. The sound of machines echoed from deep underground. Darren led them to a small shelter at the edge of the colony. You can stay here, he said. It's quiet. Nobody comes this far. Tomal looked around. The room had 2 beds, 1 table, and a broken heater in the corner. It wasn't much, but it was better than a cold prison cell. Mira sat on the bed near the window. Her eyes followed a group of children playing outside. Their clothes were dirty, but they laughed and ran through the dust without fear. I haven't seen this in a long time, she said softly. Tomel sat across from her. What do you mean? Free people, free thoughts, my kind lived like this. Once, before the Empire came, Darren brought them food and water later that night. He sat with them and listened as Tomel explained everything. How he found Mira, what the Empire had done, what she could do. Darren didn't speak for a while. He stared at Mira, then looked at Tomel. You brought something dangerous here. She's not dangerous, Tomel said. She is to the Empire, Darren replied. And if they find her here, they won't spare anyone. Tomel stood. I'll leave if it comes to that, but I won't hand her over. Darren sighed. I didn't say you should. I just want you to know what you're asking. If the Empire finds out, they'll burn this colony to the ground. Mira's voice was quiet but steady. I don't want more people to suffer. I will leave if I must. No, Darren said. You stay, for now. But we watched the sky. In the days that followed, Mira began to change. She helped a worker repair a broken power line without tools. She guided a lost child back home without speaking. People started to notice her. Some were afraid. Others were amazed. Tomel stayed close. He saw the way people looked at her. Whispers moved through the colony. Stories began to grow. The girl from the stars, the one who could touch machines with her mind. One evening, Tomel sat with Darren outside the shelter. You see how they look at her now? Darren asked. Yes, Tomel replied. They're afraid, but they're also curious. This place hasn't had hope in a long time. Maybe she gives them that. Tomel looked up at the sky. I just hope the Empire isn't listening. But the Empire was always listening. One night, Mira woke from sleep. She felt something cold in her mind, a signal, a pulse, a search. She stood and stepped. Outside, Tomel followed her. What is it? They found us, she said. How? They're scanning for energy. My kind leaves a trail when we use our power. I tried to hide it, but it only slowed them. Tomel turned to Darren, who had joined them. We need to prepare. Darren nodded. I'll gather the others. We have weapons, not many, but enough to hold for a time. The next morning, the sky above Grey Rock turned dark. A ship appeared high above the colony. It was black, large, and shaped like a blade. The Empire had come. Loudspeakers echoed across the buildings. This is Commander Vorik of the Imperial Guard. You are harboring a wanted fugitive. Her name is Mira. Surrender her now, or face destruction. People froze. Some ran. Others grabbed weapons. Tomel and Mira stood on the roof of the shelter, watching the sky. Darren joined them. The people are scared. Tomel looked at Mira. What do we do? Mira's eyes were calm. I will not run again. Tomel nodded. Then we stand. That night, the Empire sent a message again. Last warning, surrender the girl, or we take her by force. Tomel walked into the middle of the colony and stood before a small group of people, workers, traders, and fighters stood around him. I know you don't owe me anything, he said. I brought this trouble, but I won't give her to them. She is not a weapon. She is not property. She is a person who trusted us. If we give her up now, we are no better than the ones who put her in chains. Darren stepped beside him. He's right. This colony was built by those who had nowhere else to go. If we start giving people to the Empire, then we've already lost. One by one, others began to step forward. We fight, one man said. For her, said another. For all of us, added a third. Mira stood silently at the back, her eyes full of quiet emotion. Later, Tomel found her sitting alone. You gave them something, he said. What? Something they haven't had in years. A reason. She looked at him. You did that, by freeing me. The next day, the Empire sent down soldiers, but they did not expect a full defense. Grey Rock's people used every tool they had. Old blasters, mining drills, hidden cannons. Mira stood with them, her hands glowing faintly. She didn't use her powers unless it was needed. But when one soldier tried to fire at a child, she stopped the blast midair. That moment spread across the colony like fire. The people shouted. They fought harder. The soldiers pulled back. The Empire ship rose again, sending one last message. This is not over. Tomo watched it leave. His hands were dirty. His body was tired. But he stood tall. Mira stepped beside him. They will return, she said. Double quotes, yes. But now we are ready. She looked at the people cheering across the colony. They are not afraid anymore. No, Tomo said. Now they believe. The wind blew across Grey Rock Colony. Dust rose with every step as the people moved through the narrow paths, fixing walls and clearing debris. The last battle had left scars. Broken roofs, burned walls, and silent homes now marked the edges of the colony. But the people were not broken. They were building again. Tomo helped carry metal beams to the repair teams. Sweat rolled down his face. His arms were tired, but he kept going. Nearby, children played in the sand, laughing and shouting. Their smiles gave him strength. Inside the old storage hall, Mira sat with 3 workers. One had a wounded leg. Another had lost her home. Mira used her hands, not to heal with power, but to wrap bandages, pass water, and speak gentle words. They had started to trust her, not as a weapon, not as a mystery, but as one of them. Darren entered with a serious face. The scanners picked up movement. Tomo wiped his hands. How much movement? A fleet, 6 ships, bigger than the last one. Tomo looked at Mira. She was quiet, but her eyes showed she already knew. They are not just coming for me this time, she said. They are coming to destroy. Then we fight again, Tomo said. Darren shook his head. Not like before. We don't have enough power. The cannons are low on charge. Ammunition is short. Half of the fighters are injured. Tomo looked at the sky. How long do we have? Maybe a day. Darren replied, maybe less. That night, the colony was silent. Fires burned in barrels. People sat in small groups, speaking in whispers. Some sharpened tools, others cleaned weapons. A few just sat, staring at the stars. Tomo found Mira sitting alone near the landing pad. You knew this would happen, he said. Yes, she answered. The Empire does not forgive. They see freedom as a threat. Tomo sat beside her. You don't have to stay. You could leave. I could help you escape. Mira looked at him. If I leave, they will punish this place. They will burn Grey Rock so others stay silent. You're not strong enough for another battle, Tomo said. Mira looked at her hands. They trembled. I know. My strength is fading. Tomo felt his chest grow tight. Then don't fight. Let us handle this. Mira shook her head. Your weapons cannot stop what they bring. I must do what I can. Tomo stood up and walked back to the main square. He looked at the people. Many were tired. Some were afraid. But none were running. He raised his voice. They're coming again. We all know it. This time they come with more power, more fire, more hate. But they still don't understand what we are. He pointed at Mira, who now stood behind him. They think she is the only reason we fight. But we fight because we choose. 2. We fight because we are tired of being ruled by fear. If this is our last stand, let it be the one that tells the galaxy we are not weak. The people cheered. Loud, brave, strong. Early in the morning, the sky filled with fire. 6 Empire ships hovered above the colony. Fighters flew low, circling the buildings. Large cannons pointed at the ground. The voice of Commander Vork came. Again, this is your final message. Surrender the girl, or we will destroy everything. Tomo stepped outside. He held a comm device and spoke into it. No surrender. We are not afraid. The attack began. Blasts hit the outer walls. Towers shook. Metal cracked. The people fought back with all they had. Drones were launched. Cannons fired. Ground traps were triggered. Smoke filled the sky. Tomo ran from cover to cover, guiding defenders, checking on supplies. His shoulder was grazed by fire, but he kept moving. Mira stood near the center of the colony. Her arms rose. A blue light grew around her. She stopped a falling missile before it reached the power core. She turned a wave of fire away from the storage hall. But each time she used her gift, she grew weaker. Inside one of the towers, Darren fought beside 2 guards. One fell. Darren dragged him to safety and returned fire. They're pushing in. He shouted over the comm dot to Mel responded. Hold the line. Mira is still standing. But not for long. Mira fell to her knees. Her face was pale. Her breaths were slow. Tomal rushed to her side. You can't keep doing this, he said. They'll break through if I stop, she whispered. You'll die. I know. Tomal held her hand. There has to be another way. At that moment, a deep voice came from above. It was not from the speakers. It came from the sky itself. You have one last chance. Tomal looked up and saw a large dropship landing near the edge of the colony. From it stepped Commander Vorik. He wore black armor. His eyes were sharp and cold. He walked through the smoke like it was nothing. Bring her to me, he said. Tomal stood in front of Mira. No. Vorik raised his weapon, then watched this place fall. Before he could fire, something shifted in the air. The wind stopped. The ground still. Mira stood again. Her body glowed, not from power, but from purpose. She walked forward, slow but firm. Stop, she said. Vorik laughed. You think you can stop me? I'm not here to destroy, Mira said. I'm here to speak. Vorik stepped back. Speak. Mira raised her hand. A wave of light moved through the colony. It touched every person. It carried calm, memory. Truth. Images formed in their minds. Her prison, the Empire's labs, the silence of chains. Then the light faded. The people stood still. Vorik looked around, confused. What did you do? I showed them who I am, Mira said. One by one, the soldiers dropped their weapons. Even some of the Empire pilots turned away. Vorik was alone. He raised his blaster again, but Tomal stepped forward and knocked it from his hand. This is not your place anymore, Tomal said. Vorik was taken by the people. His ship left without a word. The battle was over. Mira fell into Tomal's arms. You did it, he whispered. No, she replied weakly. We did it. The news of Greyrock's victory spread quickly across the outer systems. It was more than a battle won. It was a sign, a message that the Empire could be challenged. Tomal sat at the communication console inside the colony's main building. His hand shook slightly as he prepared to send a broadcast. Mira stood beside him, watching the flickering screens. Are you sure this is safe? Tomal asked. If the Empire sees this, they will come back with more force. Mira nodded. The truth is stronger than fear. People need to know what happened here. Tomal took a deep breath. He opened a channel to the galactic net, the vast web of signals and messages that connected millions of worlds. He began to speak. My name is Tomal Wren. I am a pilot and a fighter for freedom. I was not a hero until I found Mira. She is a survivor of the Empire's darkest secrets. She is a Thalan, a race they wanted to erase. They kept her in chains, but we set her free. Images from the prison world flashed on the screen. The glowing chains, the cold cells, Mira's silent suffering. Today, the people of Greyrock stood against the Empire. We fought for her, for ourselves, for the right to choose. The Empire will try to silence this message, but we will not be quiet. We will rise. The broadcast ended. Tomal turned to Mira. What now? Now, we wait, she said. And we hope. The hope came faster than anyone expected. Across the galaxy, ships began to change course. Rebel fleets once broken and scattered found new courage. Smugglers refused to work with the Empire. Colonies declared independence. Messages like Tomal's spread like wildfire. One night, a message arrived at Greyrock. It was from an old friend of Tomal's, a pilot named Laura. We are coming to help. The Empire will fall if we stand together. Tomal showed the message to Mira and Darren. They smiled for the first time in weeks. But the Empire was not defeated yet. Inside a dark room on the Imperial flagship, high above the stars, a council met. An older man with a cold face spoke. They spread lies, he said. The Thalan are dangerous. We cannot allow this rebellion to grow. A woman beside him nodded. Then we must act quickly. The girl is a symbol now. We must capture her or destroy her. A younger officer spoke up. There is a weapon that can block her power. It is ready for use. The council agreed. Plans were made. Ships prepared. The Empire would strike harder than before. Back on Grey Rock, Tomel stood on a hill overlooking the colony. The stars shone bright above. Mira was beside him, silent. Do you think they will come? Tomel asked. They must, she said. But we will be ready. Days passed. Ships arrived. Not just a few. Hundreds. Rebel fighters joined the colony's defenders. Tomel and Darren organized the forces. Mira trained with those who wanted to learn. One evening, Mira showed Tomel a hidden power. She closed her eyes and reached out with her mind. The metal around them hummed. Old machines stirred to life. Lights blinked on. Doors opened. I can help the people fight without weapons, she said. To Mel smiled. That could change everything. But the biggest change came when a fleet of rebel ships appeared on the horizon. Led by Laura, they brought fresh ships, weapons, and hope. The colony celebrated. For the first time, the future seemed open. Then the Empire attacked. Their new weapon blocked Mira's power. The skies darkened with enemy ships. Lasers flashed. Explosions shook the ground. Tomel led a group of fighters in the defense. Mira fought beside them, using every skill she had. The battle was fierce. Many lives were lost. The colony's walls cracked. But the people did not give up. In the middle of the fight, Tomel received a message from Laura. We found a weakness in the Empire's weapon. If Mira can reach the main control ship, she can destroy it. Tomel turned to Mira. Can you do it? She nodded, her eyes fierce. Together, they boarded a fast ship and flew into the heart of the battle. Enemy ships swarmed around them. Missiles exploded nearby. Mira reached out with her mind. The ship moved like a shadow through space. They entered the Empire flagship. Inside, Mira faced the weapon. It was a cold machine, bright and cruel. She placed her hand on it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a pulse of light spread through the ship. The weapon exploded in a storm of fire. The flagship lost power. The enemy fleet scattered. Back on Grey Rock, the people cheered. Tomel looked at Mira, proud. You did it, he said. No, she said. We did it. The Empire was beaten back. The galaxy saw that humans and aliens could stand together. The story of Tomel and Mira became a symbol of hope. And the fight for freedom had only just begun. The battle was over, but the war was not finished. The galaxy was waking up. Old alliances were breaking. New friendships were forming. And in the middle of it all were Tomel and Mira. Grey Rock Colony was no longer a hidden place. It was a beacon of hope. Ships from many worlds arrived, carrying supplies, fighters, and news. The people worked hard to rebuild. The scars of war were still visible, but their spirits were stronger than ever. Tomel walked through the crowded streets. He smiled at the children playing near the docks. He greeted the workers repairing walls. Everyone seemed to carry a light inside. Mira stood beside him. Her blue skin had grown brighter. Her silver eyes shone with quiet power. But she was calm. She no longer hid. She no longer feared. They asked me who I am, Mira said. And I tell them I am a Thalan, a survivor. A friend? Tomel nodded. You have given them hope. And you gave me freedom, she replied. One evening, a ship landed at the colony. From it stepped Laura, the pilot who had brought the rebel fleet months ago. She smiled as she approached. Good to see you both, she said. The galaxy is changing. More people want to fight. More want to be free. Tomel looked at Mira. What now? Laura looked toward the stars. Now, we build. We protect. We prepare. The Empire is wounded, but not broken. They will come again. Mira's eyes narrowed. Then we will be ready. Tomel and Mira spoke to the people that night. They stood before the crowd, under the open sky. We fought to be free, Tomel said. We fought to live without fear. But freedom is not given. It is earned, day by day. Mira raised her hand. And it is our duty to protect it, to protect each other. The crowd cheered. Days turned into weeks. The colony grew. New ships flew in. Training camps opened. Scientists studied Mira's powers, hoping to learn and share. But peace was fragile. One morning, a message arrived. It was from the Empire. A simple warning: surrender the Thalan, or face destruction. Tomo read the message and looked at Mira. They never stopped. Mira smiled softly. Neither do we. Together, they prepared the colony for what might come. Walls were strengthened. Patrols increased. Allies arrived from distant stars. But they did not only prepare for war. They built schools, farms, and homes. They welcomed refugees and offered shelter. Grey Rock became a symbol not just of battle, but of life. One night, Tomo and Mira stood on a hill, watching the two suns set. Do you ever wonder what comes next? Tomo asked. Mira smiled. I wonder what we will build. What kind of future we will create. Tomo took her hand. A future where no one is chained. She looked up at the stars. A future worth fighting for. And as the night sky filled with light, the colony glowed beneath them, not because of power or machines, but because of hope. The story of the alien girl and the pilot had become more than a legend. It was a promise that even in the darkest times, freedom could be found. And that promise was only the beginning.